Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We're back for Onchain Summer Stories number 7. I'm Jesse, your host, and I'm today joined by Ben Leventhal, the founder and CEO of Blackbird. Welcome, Ben.
Hello. How's it going?
How's it going? It's going good. It's Tuesday, and this is the day 7 for us. So we're feeling pretty energized. I think pretty excited. How are you? How's your Tuesday going?
I'm feeling great. I'm also feeling energized and excited. Today's our big day for Onchain Summer, so we're pumped.
Hell yeah. And what I was just asking you before you were telling me, but what's behind you? Where are you and what am I looking at?
So I'm coming to you live from our office in NoHo, and behind me is our wall of restaurant branding. We obviously are obsessed with restaurants here at Blackbird, and behind me is all the different kinds of restaurant branding that we see that's out there. We kind of just use it for inspiration, and it's fun. And I'm also kind of a junkie when it comes to collecting it. So you'll see just over my ear like 5 or 6 different versions of the Tavern on the Green brand over the years.
And
like
so have you been building that collection for a while?
I have.
And maybe can you give the listeners and viewers just a little bit more background? This isn't your first rodeo on restaurants. It's maybe your first one doing it on chain, but tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I mean, I've sort of taken my obsession with restaurants and turned it into a career somehow. Founded eater.com a little while ago, more recently Resi, which is a reservations platform. And so, somehow an obsession with restaurants turned into a career of sorts. I don't think I'd be any good at anything else. So here we are.
Well, it's clear that you're pretty good at this one. I think Eater is still my go-to resource every time I go to a new city of like, where should I eat? What's good? What's new? And Resi is still probably like the number one most frequented restaurant platform for booking reservations. So your track record is so far so good. And I think, my from what I'm seeing so far, my intuition is Blackbird's going to be massive. But for folks who are maybe learning about Blackbird for the first time, tell us what is Blackbird? What are y'all doing?
So we're building a platform for restaurants to connect to their guests through loyalty, memberships, and benefits offerings. You should think about Blackbird as a platform more than an app. It's really a tool that restaurants have to configure loyalty programming to suit their restaurants. In a world where Starbucks and PF Chang's and Sweetgreen are investing millions and millions of dollars in loyalty, we want to make sure the average restaurant, the average independent restaurant is more or less on an even playing field. And so what Blackbird is doing is building the kinds of tools that those big companies have, but putting them in the hands of the restaurants we love, the independent guys that define the cities that we're in.
And first off, I love that. I'm curious, like what's made you focus on the independent folks and the small businesses? Like why start there?
Well, the independent restaurants are what makes restaurants special. I mean, when you think about your favorite restaurant, whether it's PF Chang's or it's Raph's where we went together, and if it's PF Chang's, by the way, all good, respect the decision, but respect your preference. But all of restaurants start. Creativity is in the independents, and they are the restaurants that define the cities that we're in, like I said, and they're what make restaurants special. But the problem with independent restaurants is the profit margins are extraordinarily low and getting lower, and so we have to sort of figure out what is next. How do we make the business model more sustainable? How do we empower restaurants? With new tools, new profitability tools, new guest engagement tools, so that this conversation that we're in about restaurants in a sort of perpetual cycle of failing changes. We want to see restaurants thrive. And, we think that connectivity with guests is the path towards that.
100%. And I was just doing some research because I'm very close to a restaurant in Oakland, and watching that kind of like hands-on over the last few years has been a real experience. Like seeing, whoa, these people who are running this restaurant are working so hard, and the food's so good, and it looks so successful, and it's still such a hard business. They're doing everything right, but it's still like razor thin margins. And I was doing some research and talking with them about it. And one like really shocking stat to me was that the average margin for a small business or a restaurant in the United States is something like 3 to 5%. And then you look at the average credit card fee that these folks are being charged, and it's like 2.5% plus 25 cents or 30 cents. And so, I mean, it's clear that our systems aren't working right now for these small businesses where you can have such good food, such incredible spaces, such great leaders, and still such a hard time making the business actually work.
It's incredible that when you walk into an amazing place and you look at it all, the first thing that strikes you is, wow, they really have it together here. This is amazing. And when you peel back a little bit and when you look behind the curtain, you really do see a mess, and it's consistent across any restaurant, any category, really. And yeah, like as you just said, Jesse, this is what we have to figure out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so that's on the restaurant side, where Blackbird's giving more tools to help restaurants run better businesses, be more sustainable. Tell me about the like consumer, the everyday person experience. Like, how does Blackbird work? If I'm an everyday person, what does that experience actually look like?
So if you're exploring the city, if you're walking around, if you're going into restaurants, Blackbird software allows you to check into the restaurant using your mobile device and using an NFC chip that we've put in the front of the restaurant or at the table or somewhere. And every time you visit, it's logged. It checks you in securely. It lets the restaurant know you're there, and you accrue points for being there. And from there, it's really kind of up to the restaurant to figure out how to make the experience magical. But the restaurants that we're working with are making it magical. And so you'll get, like maybe on the first visit, you get free dessert. On the fifth visit, there's a round of drinks on the house. Blackbird for the consumer is sort of a magic decoder ring. It makes restaurants the best version of themselves. And as a consumer, it sort of makes you feel like you have superpowers in your pocket in terms of exploring the city and exploring those restaurants.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I love about Blackbird and kind of what I've seen thus far is that it feels like when you walk into a restaurant, they know who you are.
Yep.
Which is like kind of the best feeling, right? It's the feeling that all of us want, I think, when we're going out to eat or we're going to like the small business around the corner from us. And I think it's replicable, on a small scale if you just like go every day. But I think as you go to more cities or as you go to more places, like finding ways to create that connection is really hard. And it feels like Blackbird is really tapping in to try and solve that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think we've observed, and one of the reasons why we're excited to be building this on Base actually is because when you think about sort of restaurant communities or communities generally and how restaurants connect to them, there are all these sort of little micro communities, and a restaurant may have a small group of regulars, and those are the folks that are sort of known to the restaurant. But when you think about how cities are built in really neighborhoods and communities and kind of, geographic areas are built, like there's all these kind of pockets of community. And so we think about how do we connect those communities and those pockets of people to the restaurants in a much more sort of scalable and efficient way. And we do think that, the blockchain is going to be a very, very useful tool there. But yeah, it's, you want to walk into a restaurant, you want to sort of get the sense that you're going to be sorted. Like you're there because you decided you wanted to be there, and the restaurant appreciates that. And that sort of emotional transaction that happens when you walk in a restaurant, like we got to get better at that being that thing that happens every single time, because that's addictive, right? Like that feeling, that like that endorphin hit when you walk in and they're like, hey, good to see you again. Like there's nothing better.
Nothing better. It really is the best experience. And I think, just kind of elaborating on what you're saying about like why build this on chain, I think one of the things that we've kind of seen consistently as we've been telling these stories and as we've been helping people build on-chain products is that when you build products on chain, you let the people who use those products kind of be a whole version of themselves, because their identity lives on chain and they start to accrue a bunch of additional pieces of their identity that you can interact with. And maybe they get to go to different restaurants, and then those restaurants can see, oh, you also went to these places, and we can kind of build on top of that. And I think that kind of like authenticity or the sovereignty or the fact that we are all creating these new on-chain identities is going to allow us to create whole new experiences that like see us for who we actually are, and then engage with that and make it feel meaningful and make it feel connected.
I totally agree.
And so tell us a little bit today, like, what are y'all minting today? What's the experience? What can people expect?
So, when you guys came to us and said, do you want to participate? Obviously we said for sure. And we got to sort of thinking about like, what does summer mean? And how do we do something that's, really fun and exciting, both to existing members of the Blackbird community and to the Coinbase and base audience at large. And, so for us, summer is about sweets and desserts and like, the sort of like feeling like, yeah, maybe I will have 2 scoops of ice cream and go on with sprinkles tonight, which I did last night.
I did too. Last night I was like, I'm not going to eat dessert, but then my wife was graduating. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And I got dessert. And I kind of regret it this morning, but it was great.
No, it's summertime.
It's summer. Right. Exactly.
I had 2 scoops of strawberry ice cream with rainbow sprinkles last night, and I'm proud.
Yeah. Amazing.
Really
well, I had tres leches cake and a flan from this incredible little Mexican spot in around like near our house. It was really, really epic.
So
anyway, sorry, go for it.
Blackbird Summer Pass. We've got 2 of them. The one that we're talking about is the Summer Sweet Pass, and with it, you walk around and you check in, and each restaurant you visit, you're going to get a dessert on the house. It's up to the restaurant, so you're getting something that they're excited about and they're proud to offer. And like I said, summertime's about desserts. It's about indulgence. So Anton's, Gertie, Hoseki, Tia Pole, and a bunch of others check in with Blackbird, tap in, and desserts on us. And if you're not into sweets, which, it's a little quirky if you're not, but that's all.
We accept everyone on Onchain.
We accept everyone. We're also offering what we're calling a supercharge pass, which is 1,000 fly on your next tap in. So to sort of accelerate your points earnings on the Blackbird platform.
And what's Fly for those who are maybe just learning about Blackbird?
Fly is Blackbird's native currency. You can think about it as our, a reward point system, which may be, valuable in other ways as time goes on. But the more Fly you earn, the more you're going to unlock in terms of the magic at restaurants. And as we move into the end of this quarter and next, you're going to start to see us offer things for redemption using Fly. So drinks on the house, maybe some sort of like access perks, but some things that, again, are going to make restaurants more magical.
I love that. Maybe just to close this out, if you think about kind of like a few years out or 5 years out from now, and Blackbird's been successful, we built this whole kind of incredibly powerful toolkit for restaurants on chain. Like, how do you see it changing the way restaurants are in the United States and around the world? What does that actually look like?
I think it becomes a different kind of behavior. A restaurant business becomes a little bit different in so much as there's sort of two big things. One is restaurants feel like they're more in control of their own destiny because they know who their customers are and they know that they're going to reliably show up day in and day out. And they also know how to build that audience. That really is what we're trying to unlock for restaurants is that sense of control of their own destiny. And I think how that translates on the consumer side is, you have a much more sort of, you're just more excited day in and day out about what's in store for you at restaurants. And I actually think we may find that sort of people have a slightly tighter circle of restaurants that they visit more often, but I think that'd be great for the restaurant industry and for consumers. If you have, your heavy rotation of 8 to 12 restaurants and like, those are your spots. And, you go to those places as much as you possibly can. I think that a shift to that sort of behavior will be very, very good for both consumers and for restaurants.
Yeah. Well, I love that you used the phrase unplanned, like control of your own destiny. That's one that we've been saying a lot, just as we've been thinking about this next generation of the internet, the on-chain era. It does feel like one of the defining characteristics for businesses, for individuals, for everyone who's moving into this new world is that they control their destiny.
Yeah.
They take their creativity, they take their food, they take their art, they take their music, and instead of putting it online and giving away that control to large corporations or to whoever it may be, they put it on chain and they keep it, and they actually own where they're going. They get to be their full selves. And I think that that's the magic of this new world that we're building together. And so, Ben, thank you for joining us for Onchain Stories number 7. Thank you for building. Thank you for serving small businesses and restaurants for the last decade of your life. I feel so grateful for all the contributions. It's definitely made my life better. And I'm hopeful that it will make hundreds, thousands, millions of restaurants all around the world better over the next decade. So thank you. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. And we'll see you back tomorrow.
Thanks.